our Thursday subscriber stream, deep analysis stream with Ponda and myself. Welcome Someone on Sound, Bob, Astrobate. You guys are all on the list. I have submissions from Mr. Slowhand, Mr. Bob, Someone on Sound, Astrobate, Stefanos, Warnaki, and WJ Loof. In-depth analysis stream. That is the official title of the stream. Not to confuse anyone. I do not eat on stream. No finger licking here. So, Mr. Slowhand is the first one. Guys, welcome to the stream. Tomorrow, don't forget, we've got Blitz, Fast Blitz, 5+3, 11 a.m. We'll announce tomorrow's stream first. Do things a little bit differently. I just want to assure everyone that I can checkmate with Bishop and Knight versus King. I was a little rusty, so just to show you guys, to demonstrate my technique, I'm gonna show you that I can checkmate with Bishop and Knight, just so there's no question about it. Here's a position now. I'm gonna actually, rather than setting this up, just to prove that I can do it, I'm first gonna move all the pieces to the side of the board, away from the enemy king, and then reapproach and do the mate. And I want to make sure I can do it in under 50 moves. Obviously, the solution is mate in 10, but I'm gonna move to the side of the board first. So, just to make it harder, the maximum difficulty, getting my king off to the side, and then we're gonna approach and checkmate the enemy king. I felt very stupid not being able to do the Bishop and Knight mate the other day, but I haven't practiced it in years, so it was pretty awkward. Get him in the corner. And now I have it. I had forgotten like one key position that I used to remember. You're going to see this position in a minute here. When it looks like the king is getting away, but you have to remember this. If you remember nothing else from this technique, you have to keep this, basically you have to keep this area so the black king can't get out. And it looks like the king is getting away, but this move keeps him in the box. The knight controls these squares, so he can't get out on the dark squares, and the bishop controls this diagonal, so he can't escape there. And he's in the box now. He tries to get away, but he can't get away, and you can force him back. Now he's in the side of the board. We've got him where we want him now. Yeah, sorry, bishop here. And knight. And knight. I'm a master. A real master. Now, I did it. It took a lot of moves, but I had moved my king in to the side of the board and everything. He's in the corner now, in the proper corner. Now we simply have to lose a tempo to get mate. So I just wanted to redeem myself for not being able to checkmate with bishop and knight on Wednesdays. I was tired, and I also had forgotten like one of the key positions, but I really just need to redeem myself. No self-respecting chess master can't mate with bishop and knight versus king. All right. Anyway, we need a little review. I never thought I could forget how to mate with bishop and knight versus king. But if you don't do something for, like 10 years, probably can forget even how to walk. At this rate, if we don't get out of lockdown, I think I'm going to forget like basic fundamental movement ability. So, next time we'll see queen versus rook. Yeah, no. I don't think I can even learn how to mate with queen versus rook. Maybe against a human, but not against a computer. Computer's just too perfect. I don't have the time. I tried once to master queen versus rook. it was too difficult. It's just not worth it. All right, guys, we're going to get started. Where's my list? So welcome to our subscriber stream, game analysis. Mr. Slow Hands. First one for today. Stefanos will be by, and you guys can assure him that I've been redeemed, that I can actually checkmate with bishop and knight versus king. Not that difficult, actually, if you understand. The problem is there's a couple different techniques to doing it, and I never really thought about it in this way. They teach you on lichess to do like triangles. I have my own way of learning it. And I think from Kyrgios's practical chess endings. All right, welcome to the stream, guys. Where is our first game for today? Mr. Slow Hands. There it is. So, Thursday subscriber stream. I would like to have a look at my simul game against NM Chess Machine Live after I missed a mate in 7. Always easy to see those. 12 castles, things got interesting. Defending with king and knight against rook and king is a fun one. I told you how back in like 1991 I played Josh Weitzkin, who was a prodigy and famous at the time. His dad had just written a book about searching for Bobby Fischer, and the movie hadn't come out yet, but he was quite famous, and I had to defend that against him. But it was really easy, and I think like I was even angry that he wouldn't give me a draw with the king and knight against king and rook. For a while, I started to give him really nasty, dirty looks and sort of mutter under my breath while he made me play it out. Eventually, he conceded. All right, so let's take a look here. NM Chess Machine Live against Slow Hand. Oh boy. What is this? Slow Hand is playing white. No comment on the opening. Mr. Slow Hand is playing white. He lost a pawn. He blundered a pawn in the opening. I don't know. I think The Art of Learning is a great audiobook. I have my Audible account. I have a new book every month. Maybe I'll check it out. But I'm into more like fiction and stuff for audiobooks. Something to like help me go to sleep at night. All right. You started in martial arts. Oh, the opposite of Weitzkin. Well, whatever he's doing, I'm sure he's good at public speaking or some sort of accumulating a fan base. He was a good player, though. He could have gotten the GM. It was sort of surprising when he quit. All right, e4, c5, d4. We lost the pawn, but it's okay. I think the Mora Gambit is a good ploy for beginners, but I wouldn't really think at Mr. Slowhand's level we would continue to play this. It's a good opening for scholastic players under 1800, but I think when we get to this point at Mr. Slowhand's level, we should stop playing such nonsense. All right, no offense, someone on sound. If you like it, you like it. I admit it's playable. I admit white can get an equal game, but I think there are better things to play objectively for an advantage. c4, so anyway, cd4, sorry, c3, d takes c3. Really, the gambit has to be accepted. I think it's even more stupid for black to play like I've played a few times here. It's more stupid to allow the Alapin, because this way you're up a pawn. If you allow the Alapin, you give white a legitimately decent opening. Alright, so d takes c3, knight takes c3, knight c6. Not the only way for black to play. But in most systems, the knight is played to c6. Almost all variations I can think of. We can play either e6 or d6 after this. But instead, black plays g6 now. This is an underrated variation for black. Where's my opening explorer? It's important that black plays this without the knight being out. I think this is probably easy for black to go wrong and lose quickly, but it's actually legitimate. Bishop c4. It's also important not to play d6 too early. Bishop g7. So this is an interesting position, actually. We should ask someone on sound. He loves this for white. Is e5 even white's best move? According to the engine, it is. You're kind of hoping black takes this pawn. Well, not kind of hoping. I guess you're really hoping that he takes the pawn. Like knight e5, knight e5, bishop e5, presumably queen d5. Is queen d5 not a move because the bishop takes c3 check? What's up with queen d5? What's wrong with queen d5? I don't understand. Someone understand, why does nobody play queen d5 here? I would think that would be fun. Sabalo is a really strong player. He's old now, like a little older than me, a lot older. So Sabalo was a dragon expert, and he's still active. At least he was like a year ago. I guess the last time I saw him was a year or two ago. Still playing well into his 70s. He's a Croatian grandmaster. He was like one of the best Yugoslav players in the 80s. Really nice person. Very sportsmanlike. We played once, I think, in Slovenia. I was black in the Nimzo. He used to play the Georgiou variation with f3 against the Nimzo. But he's a specialist with black and Sicilian. Really, really good. Still playing the dragon in his 70s. Great player. So he was a stalwart top Yugoslav grandmaster in the 80s generation. You can trust his play in the Sicilian pretty much. But I was wondering about queen d5 here. I'm surprised that nobody's played that. Like, I like the idea of black giving me that dark squared bishop. Bishop d5, pawn d5. This looks like fun. Playable for black, but not easy. But no, the bigger problem, I guess, is this line. So knight e5, knight e5, bishop e5, bishop f7, check. Can you play king f8 here? Apparently it's bad. Someone on sound and others like this line, but who can blame them? It looks more active, more easy to play. But honestly, not so easy. Don't confuse Topalov with Topalovich. Topalovich is like a cheap imitation of Topalov. Truthfully, I mean, it looks like it's playable for black. Sabalo has 2 games. He lost against Zelich. This guy is like a Mora Gambit player. One of the strongest Mora Gambit players in the world. 23-30. Probably like the top 2 Mora Gambit player in the world. Once I tried to get him to play, I told the story, I tried to get the guy to play the Mora Gambit against me because I played c3 with white, trying to bait him into playing e5 so I could play c4, but he wouldn't bite. I was that confident against the Mora Gambit. When I played c3, he wouldn't cooperate and play e5. He played f5, and I had to like transpose to some kind of weird Dutch where I played c3. Funny, but anyways, all right. So we have e5, and then black played a6, which is like a completely irrelevant move. There's another move here, knight h6. Probably better than a6. a6 is really bad. Castles. And so there's a game here from 1982. Hjorth. This guy used to play on ICC. He lives somewhere in the United States. He's originally from Australia. There was some weird story about him. I never met him, but an Australian who moved to the United States, and he used to play online. He's got a game here, but a6 is like ridiculous. Now b5. Okay. Let me turn off the engine at this point. I just wanted to see it for the opening theory. Mr. Coffee, welcome. Saeed's, thanks for subscribing. Is there time for you to add a game for analysis? Yes. Yeah, I think so. If you send me a game now, I'll include it. Mr. Coffee. Sorry guys, I get into the games and I sometimes kind of miss the chat. Please support the stream. Don't forget to donate so we can survive the pandemic. Just a bad pun. Pandemic. Super Chess Pro. So basically someone said, the goal here for white is to prevent d6 ever working well for black if you can. That's from an expert. In a more general sense, I think we could just say to keep up this pressure along the d file. And as long as we have lasting... Yeah, I mean, as long as black can't play d6, as long as we have lasting play, we have compensation for the sacrificed pawn. In this case, probably more than enough. At the end of the day, when you look at this position, which black has misplayed, look at the center. Look at the control of the center. d5, total domination. e5, superior control. e4, basically white has a domination there, and d4. So every single central control point, talking about it like a shooter video game, control points. My son would be excited. All 4 control points, that's a new term. We've invented a new term. All 4 control points are under white's control. So basically, if this was a shooter video game, the white team would be winning. I think this is AKA the setter. I know, it's very deep. Little problem here. If you're up a pawn, but your pawns can't even go in the center, I mean, are you really up a pawn? If you're up a pawn, does it freaking matter if white just owns the center in this manner? Probably not. So h5 looks like a crazy move, but it's probably not that insane to play knight h6, which will be controlling and defending f7. Possibly can play knight h6. But, I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice. The black is running out of other options. I mean, f6 would be a move I could play much earlier on, maybe. I mean, if you go back to move 7, I would think f6 would be something we would at least seriously consider here. There's no games with f6. How bad is it? Novelty. The pawn to variation. At first, the computer was like, knight b5 resigns. And then it changed its mind. I know this from the English opening. f3 in similar lines. If white takes, black's totally out of the woods. Totally out of the woods. Almost totally out of the woods. But it's not bad. But if you can play f6, okay, it might work. Anyway, h5 looks ridiculous, but under the circumstances, I understand. It does look like this is going to be an issue. So instead of queen d3, I would overprotect my central pawn if I were white here. Rook e1 looks like a no-brainer to me. Queen d3 feels contrived. He's kind of playing for it feels like he's playing for a trick almost. It's not a bad move, but it doesn't feel as fundamental as a move like rook e1. We don't really know where the queen belongs. It looks like someone on sound. Mr. Slowhand is trying to set up a sort of cheapo here with bishop f7, knight g5 check, and a quick mate. I'm not sure that even works though, to be frank. Alright, anyway, I mean, it's not a really bad move. Queen d3 is okay. Now knight h6. So that guards f7 anyway. Now we need to bring the rooks to the center. I think a d1, rook fe1. Now knight g5. That, is unprincipled. We're not even done developing our pieces yet, and you're attacking with knight g5. Um, I know that it's a gambit opening and stuff, but it's principled. Like someone on Sound who's an expert in this opening with White would say, it's basically a positional pawn sacrifice. We don't have to play like tactically necessarily. Our compensation is strategic based. First things first, we should just overprotect, like I said, the e5 pawn. I think the position sort of plays itself. First, we nail it down, we get total domination in the center, and then we'll find a way to improve the position and break through. But I think the first thing you need to do is bring your rooks to the center. Bring all your pieces to the center. Rook on d1, rook on e1. There's no reason to play knight g5. I mean, it feels a little bit crazy. You're giving black and gold an opportunity to take that pawn on e5. He doesn't take it. I mean, yes, it's scary, but, you know, crossing the street is scary too. Even if he doesn't take it, I would attack it again with something like queen b8 maybe. I guess now we have knight f7 for real. Let's look at the obvious move, knight e5. Because now we have d6 coming next. The next best thing to d6 is eliminating the e5 pawn so we can play d6. Is there a tactic here? I almost like plunged my mouse off the side of the desk. Bishop takes e5. Bishop takes e5, knight f7. It's just totally nothing for white. This looks like nothing. Just a fantasy. Tranquilizer, whoa. It's Tranquilizer rating with a party of 4? Vida Levente, Grandmaster. Good to see you. What is up? All respect. Levente, what is up, man? Congratulations for starting to stream. This guy's for real. What's up? So I thought you were streaming over on chess.com. We'll check you out, man. It is good to see you, man. I hope everything's okay. A lot of the Hungarian, a lot of players from everywhere actually started to stream online. I will come by and check out your stream. Thanks for stopping by, man. So you guys can check out Tranquilizer. I think he's on here on Twitch. Good player. He's got some really nasty wins against me. Good to see you, man. Wish you all the best. We will definitely raid your stream. You guys should check him out. Tranquilizer on Twitch. Romanian Grandmaster Vida Levente. He is a guy who I've known from Hungary for a long time, and a really good player with a lot of knowledge. So if you guys see him online on Twitch streaming, definitely check it out. He is the real deal. And I think that sometimes he's streaming in English, but maybe I checked out one or two of your streams, man. I think the first time I saw you were streaming in Romanian, and of course, like, I don't know much Romanian, but I saw you stream in English too, which is awesome. So I don't know about Hungarian though. You're probably doing not enough viewers in the Hungarian streams. But anyway, check him out, guys. He's got English streams, and definitely follow Tranquilizer. Awesome player, and former member of the Romanian Olympic team. Romania was only for one time. Yeah, there's not that many players online from Romania, even from Hungary, so you pretty much do better with the English. Although, you know, I'm sure you can probably communicate like more clearly, more in depth with Romanian and stuff. It's not as easy, but the English is definitely more easy for people to follow. So, but it's not that many really good players like Levente who are taking the time to stream, and I think he's a thoughtful player. So it's not like just playing bullet chess, and he's a player who I respect. It's awesome. Good to see you, man. We'll we'll definitely follow your stream. And if I see you streaming, we'll raid you too. Awesome, dude. So this is again, that's Tranquilizer. This is like dubious. It looks like for white to sacrifice the pawn. He can't give this pawn up. So he does. Black doesn't take. He castles, and now it's like, then he takes f7. I mean, obviously you see you have queen takes g6 here, and you're threatening mate on h7. You see it or you don't. Now you see it. Now you don't. In the heat of battle, take care, man. No, it's good to see you. I respect somebody who's taking the game seriously. There's a lot of streamers who are just you know, really just about playing bullet chess, and it's not serious. And I know with Tranquilizer you'll learn something if you guys watch his games. So absolute respect. This is a difficult mated 7. Yeah, I don't even understand like how black is surviving here. Okay, so queen g6. It looks like rook e8 is the only move that prevents mate immediately. And you would think that black would just be done instantly. It's sort of amazing that it's not instantly mate in this position. Bishop f7 check. You can't go to f8 because of knight h7 mate. So you have to take that, and then the shocking part is that this is not mate. You know, you would think it was mate. Queen f7 check, king h8. But where's the mate? It's not that easy. Then you have to start thinking, where is that mate? I don't even, off the top of my head, I don't even see it. So let's see, queen g6, rook e8 is forced. This is like doing a puzzle. I hate puzzles. Presumably, bishop takes f7, knight f7. No sort of smothered mate, so I think you have to take queen f7, king h8. So where's the mate? It would be like a mate in 4 from here, mate in 3 from here. I'm not seeing it. Warnocki's done 21,000. But seriously, where is the mate? Anytime we try to threaten mate on h7, it's king g8. I don't see it. What is the mate here? It must be something like queen g6, king g8, knight f7. That's not even... It might be. And then like a very slow mate. I'm going to cheat. I don't have all time to figure this out. Mate in 4. Queen g6, king g8, and I was suggesting knight f7. Oh my god. So it's knight e6. That's beautiful. That should be a study here, or like a puzzle on lichess. Wow. See, I should have seen that. If I'd done more puzzles, I would see this, but I'm not a puzzle master. I had a beautiful game once where I sacked a knight with knight e6, but not like this. Now this unstoppable bishop h6. You can be forgiven for not finding this mate, but so basically white shouldn't have missed queen takes g6 though. So he plays like a second best move now, knight f7. And all bets are off. It's basically okay for black now. At least sort of okay. I mean, you got to see the diagonal here to not defend that. So this wasn't well played by black. I mean, you're threatening bishop h6, and you've got the bishop on the diagonal. How can black not play e6 in this position? You know, obviously, like knight e5 is the first thing you look at, but sadly, that's game over after bishop takes e5. And we're threatening bishop h6. So e6 enables us to stop bishop h6 by unpinning the knight at f7. I don't know what the time control here was, but this is like an insanely awkward move for black. Now his defense has to be based on something like knight f5 or knight e6, which is really difficult. Bishop h6, knight f5. Can we clear h7 with bishop c2? Can we get that going on? Bishop g7, knight g7, queen to h7 threat. Can we play bishop g7, knight g7, bishop c2, threatening mate? But again, I think there's no mate. You know, the rook moves away and we don't have mate. So this is what happened. Take, take. I mean, here I'm surprised you didn't play like bishop c2. I guess you see, rook e8 again, there's no mate. So in order for white to win, we need to bring more force into the battle. The rooks, there was one more move. Like if white had the rook already, you know, ready to lift, he'd probably be winning easily. But the rook's out of play. It takes 2 tempi to lift a rook here. And I mean, the slow plans like f4, f5. I don't know if white's even winning. This is about the rook lift. It also paralyzes black along the d5. Looks like a good move, but let's look at the forcing lines first. So bishop c2. Yeah, you can actually take here. Yeah, no, this is a big problem. Black can just take here. I was thinking he had to play rook e8. But that's not true. You can just take the pawn. This leads to mucho complicaciones. So that's another point of f4. Stopping knight e5 ideas. Black, notice, doesn't have any queen b6. That's not there because of this queen. Another advantage of playing e6. I imagine black would play e6. What do we do after e6? Bishop c2 becomes a threat. And so now we have all the stuff with queen h7 again. It's complicated. It's a great answer. It's complicated. Rook e8. It's a game now. Very, very complicated game. So rook d1. e6. e6, bishop e6. Queen b6 check. There's no check. White hasn't played f4 yet. So can we play e6? And if e6, bishop takes e6, that's the game. I wasn't looking ahead. But this was a fun game. So he sacks his queen. Man. Black is a national master, right? But he like made all kind of arbitrary decisions. Now the game is really crazy. Rook e1, rook d4, and we can't go to e4. I thought we should have played knight e4, honestly, at this point. I would totally play it. Black will probably have to take, because f6 is devastating. Or he has knight e5. Yeah, but there you lose too much material. I think this might be bad. Knight f6, rook f6, queen f6. The black has to play knight f7. Unclear. 3 pieces for the queen. That's actually kind of a crazy position. This might be like equal. Engine thinks that white's better. White's up a pawn worth of material. So, crazy though. So the game was this. Rook e1, rook d4, and now I don't know what to do. It looks like black's pretty active. There's no way to get the knight into the game. There's back rank problems. I kind of like black here in terms of like realistic practical chances. It feels like black might even be easier to play. Of course, ultimately the white king is safer. But I don't see any way for white to make progress. Without knight e4, we're going to have a problem. So he plays h3. I mean, I'm afraid of b4 at this point. I would probably play... Oh, I just realized you're threatening rook g4. Oh, crap. So that's serious. That's a doubly good move. I mean, it stops knight e4 and you're threatening rook g4. Devastating. Black is certainly dangerous. So we have to play this. And now, what if b4? What are we doing on that? This is a long game. I want to thank Mr. Slowhand for always, like, complicating our lives with a tough game. It's usually like a closed King's Indian that takes me an hour to analyze. This is the similar, very hard game to analyze. Very complex. But I would think that b4 now, where does white go? White has to be super careful. I'm afraid of knight e4, but maybe we can play it. Now that there's no back rank, knight e4, b4, knight e4, bishop e4, rook e4. Black has a lot of material though. b4, knight e4, bishop e4, rook e4. I mean, even here, like, only black can win, I would think. With a rook and two knights or a queen, I would think that black would have the more realistic winning chances. Nakamura would probably say the opposite. He likes the queen. Alright, so complicated game. Rook e3, h4. Did I miss something? Yes, rook f d8. Is b4 a better move? Apparently not. But it seems reasonable to me. I don't know. Alright. So that's just analysis. Let's see what happened. Rook f d8. Clearly not a bad move. Rook e3. Now we have a threat. h4. There goes our threat. Knight e4. White has a threat. Gotta take it. Though I thought you were going to take with the bishop here. He takes with the rook first. We'll probably get to the same position. Everything gets traded. Yeah, I mean, this is probably equal, but crazy in time pressure. White has 2 pawns and a queen for rook and 2 knights. That's 11 points of material and 11 points of material. So technically the material is equal. Though black could drop a pawn or something pretty easily. He did. Yeah, his king isn't as safe. It's not as easy to play, to coordinate the pieces. That's why Hikaru says, like, two rooks aren't as good as a queen. For a computer, they probably are. And now Slowhand has the 2 pawns, which look kind of dangerous. Maybe he's winning. Those 2 pawns are worth a knight now. Fink had a knight, never really got in it. It's over. Alright, messy game. That was a long one. So, we had a raid from Grandmaster Vita Levente. Very strong player. We played many times. Good to see him. Good to see someone you respect and know personally streaming on Twitch. Now, all business. Now we've got Mr. Bob is the next game. El Rossador. Saeed. Is El Rossador here? Did I miss him? Haven't seen El Rossador in ages. Alright guys, subscribers. The subscriber stream is now filled up for now. Oh, Rossador is here. Okay, a game in the King's Indian. King's Indian's not allowed. Too complicated. Now, let's move along, guys. I tend to get carried away with the early games, so we're going to go over Bob's game. We can do... There it is. Bob Sacamano, friend of Kramer from Seinfeld. I played this game for the sole purpose of being reviewed by you. You played the game for being reviewed? Good to see you again, Rossador. This is Mr. Bob playing white. Bob, you're playing d4. Really? Are you that universal? Bob, you always play e4 against me. What's up with the d4? Astrobate, don't forget me. Astrobate, I have you in like 4th place. We're not going to forget you. But I actually, for some reason, have Astrobate's game on number 4 position. Strange coincidence. Promise not to lick my fingers during the stream like number 4. Bob has 6 inaccuracies and 2 blunders, but no mistakes. Make no mistake about it. Bob even plays c4. Okay, d4. Bob playing a30195. rather impersonal name. D4, D5, C4, C6, Knight C3. Knight C3 is an aggressive move. A lot of people might say that it's not as good as Knight F3. I think it's sharper because you give black the additional possibility of a gambit with D takes C4. Though not everyone is up to the task of playing that. There's also the winner gambit, which I have played against me. In similar to the Albin kind of thing with the E5. So you give black some interesting and aggressive options when you play Knight C3. Though I think you'll find a lot of people, maybe will not go into that. I'm not sure what the upsides of Knight C3 are, objectively. After Knight F6, like, you don't have anything better than playing Knight F3 anyway. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like Knight C3 has no real benefit, except that it gives black additional options. If you really like those additional options, then you can play Knight C3. Alright, so Knight C3, Knight F6, Bishop G5. This is one of the only ways you could play to try to take advantage of Knight C3. But it doesn't have much... Bob, I mean, I agree with you. Like, thematically, putting pressure on D5 is good. It's not a bad move. I'm just saying you give black additional options. This move, however, isn't supposed to be very good. You're basically playing like it's a queen's gambit, but this is not a pin. So Bishop G5 has been played by some good players. I think Hodgson, or I don't remember. These are more recent games here. You don't see a lot of big names playing Bishop G5. It's a kind of rare move. For some reason, Julian Hodgson, but he always played a Trompowsky, but I still think he played a game with Bishop G5. Yeah, it is the most overused adjective. Is it an adjective? I was going to say. A little bit of delay for me in the grammar editing department. Grammarly. This stream was sponsored by Grammarly. I should try to speak really correctly and see if I can get a sponsorship from Grammarly. Bishop G5 just isn't a pin, so that's why it's not a big deal, and taking this is no big deal. Black plays H6, which is like ridiculous. It's just an utter waste of time to play H6. Part of me doesn't want to take on F6, but I feel like you have to at this point. You're basically playing a form of Trompowsky, and I think theory probably like grabbing this pawn on C4. And by the way, like sometimes the knight can even go to D5. I remember once Feingold played a stupid game. Probably we all play stupid games, but for some reason this sticks out in my mind that Feingold once played like Bishop F4 in the last round of this tournament, and I don't understand. This is even worse because it was like D takes C4 and black's threatening like knight D5 or something, which forks. It actually forks the bishop on F4 and then C3. This seems even worse for white than Bishop G5. I mean, at least here, Bishop G5, we can mess up black's pawn structure. But H6 is bad. I admit you don't have to take, but I prefer taking. Now here, black has a kind of bad structure. Just say like pawn takes pawn. I don't like black's structure. And in this line, his king isn't easy to say, where it's going to be safe. I know from experience in Trompowsky. H6 also weakens black a little bit. So Bobby should take Bishop H4. Now black has a secondary chance to take here on C4, but he plays Bishop F5. Alright. Giving you a second chance to correct your mistake with like Bishop F6, CD5 or something. Knight F3. Bobby played a little too routinely. Very little calculation involved here. Black should try taking this pawn. Clearly black didn't seem like he was willing to give up his center. If you play the Slav, you probably have to be able to take this pawn in some positions, I would think. You've got to be willing to go out on a limb and try that. Black was trying at all costs to maintain the pawn on D5, but it's not really optimal, to just blindly always maintain your D5 pawn no matter what the situation. Even if this is like free, he's still not taking it on C4. Too dogmatic. play by black. Now finally e3, and basically by some bizarre order of moves we've transposed to a real position. I don't even know how this happened in, say, like this game from 2017. Don't ask me how we could get this position. Like, I have no idea what this is. Artemiev against Dreyev from 2017. Another Artemiev game. You know what? I know what it is, maybe. No? I thought for a second it was a Slav with bishop g5. Is that a move? Can you go like bishop g5? Do you think there are people who actually do that? Like the Slavpowski, bishop g5. There is somebody that we needed to remember. The Slavpowski. So, like 2 weeks ago, I was trying to remember this guy because I played a Trompowski, of all things, with black against someone with d4, d5, no, d4, knight f6, bishop g5, d5, knight d2. And I told you guys there was a Latvian IM who was a really strong blitz player, and I couldn't remember his name. So now we know who it was. It was this position. Actually, maybe Bob was on the stream. I don't remember, but it was Heinrich Chepakaitis. That's the guy. Bishop h4, bishop f5, knight on bd7, e3. But if we go back to that position I was talking about, we're moving around a lot. But this I was just joking. I was thinking, how can Artemiev get that position? Chepakaitis, who played the Trompowski all the time, probably it started at d4, d5, bishop g5. But Chepakaitis was playing online. He was an older guy, like in his 70s, and a really legendary like blitz player. So it's the Slavpowski. I was wondering if that's how we could get to this position. You know, how can we get there? E3, like a really, really weird Queen's Gambit. It looks pretty normal now. It's a Queen's Gambit where somehow the bishop just magically like jumped out to f5, which is actually kind of a good thing for black. That's the problem piece. So now, Bob, I guess we just have to admit that you don't have much here. You have bishop d3, which is like boring, but it's okay. Bishop e2, just not challenging the bishop. We just have to kind of admit that white doesn't have much advantage and go with it. But h3, nah. h3 doesn't look right. I'm not sure if black can take advantage of it somehow. Maybe he can, though, with like bishop d6. You could be in serious trouble now. After bishop d6, he's starting g5. That looks like an issue. So I don't like h3. This is a serious threat. Astrobate would play g5 in a heartbeat. I mean, even if you played bishop g3, fg3, it still might not be that bad, but I don't really like it. So there's no call for h3. By the way, this doesn't look great either. Dreyev black here against Artemiev. It's nothing really special. So let's see Bob's game. h3, dubious. Bishop e7 though. Failing to take advantage of Bob's mistake. And bad moves that are left unpunished often turn into good moves. I'd like to play bishop g3, but I'm afraid it's kind of slow. So black just deciding to play solid chess, trading his bad bishop with less space. It's probably not that bad. But Bob now is okay too. Queen c2 was a nice move by Bob. Rather than playing something routine. Clearly the best move, Queen c2. Taking over on e4. This is a quality move. And you might have interesting lines with knight c3, bishop takes f5. I'm not sure if we want to do it or not. But then black played knight f6. Aha. So now the e5 square has no protection at all. You're going to regret playing h3, though. If you hadn't played h3, you could probably play f3 with impunity. Now if you try to play f3, you're going to have a huge gaping hole on g3. The only mistake he made was h3. So knight d2, which is kind of passive. But are other solutions good or not? You know, so the question is, if we play this, we don't want to play like f3 and have the knight land on g3 in an inconvenient moment. We're going to have to be kind of creative here. Probably we could play knight e5, castle, and then play f3. Knight d2 is a passive move, but it's okay. But you're certainly not going to gain an advantage with that move. I admit that it's like weird to castle when it looks like black could throw the g-pawn at you. Although that move is a little unsound. Somewhat unsound, perhaps. Anyway, I got to go a little bit faster, guys. So, knight d2, it's passive. And then this move. Quite a tactical solution. Provocative. Black is... Now it's very clear to me that black is intentionally not castling. But he's just lost his right to castle queenside, which changes the scenario a little bit. Stefanos, welcome. Does anybody want to tell Stefanos what happened at the beginning of the stream? You can watch. You can watch the beginning. Guys, you can check out the old streams and the replays on YouTube. Video chess training on YouTube. Knight takes e4, d takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and we're just trading everything down. This is a really strange decision by black. A meaty, juicy bishop, and he doesn't take it with a knight on f6. Wait, I don't even understand. What? He needs to take that pawn. The whole point is that he takes it, take the bishop, and play queen b4 check and win a pawn back. It's like your opponent does what? Wow. Alright, so the whole point was to play this, play queen b4 check, and now where are you going to go? You're going to take a walk. You have to take a walk now. It looks like king e2, queen b2 check, king f3. The faint of heart might play king f1 in this position. But I think this is more fun, playing it like this. Like, haha, you can't attack my king on f3 in the 7-piece endgame. I bet you can't get me. So, yeah, I guess I win more games being a pawn up than anything else. But this guy, come on. Now Bob's going to be a clear pawn up for nothing. This is a huge blunder. It's insane. I mean, the bishop's a stronger piece, too. Bob wisely keeping his bishop. An almost perfect game by Bob. And now f5. You might want to think about g3 so your bishop has more retreat squares, but I don't think it's necessary yet. Very thematic. Queenside expansion, a4, b5 eventually. Probably rook b1 now. This is also logical. But your rook isn't in the game. I didn't even see it said rook a b1 was best. But the obvious logic is that the rook needs to get in the game. The queen is on the file, though, and Bob didn't like that. So he played queen b3. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. d5 feels a little impatient for white. I don't know, but this is coming up. That's why I said I thought you should play g3 and then, give yourself another retreat square. Now you regret not playing g3. Still not bad, though. Told you. I told you about that, not letting that knight come into g3. But here it's another problem with knight c3. And so black's able to equalize, get his pawn back. Now it's totally... maybe even easier for black. Black controls the central file, and your king is a little bit opened up, just as much as his. If anything, black... for a second I thought black, but white found this move e4, though. This is good. This was an important move. This turns it around. I thought black was better, but e4 actually... now the e6 pawn is a weakness, which justifies this. Yeah. So black has open files, white has the better structure. With that weakness on e6, it's equal. Black should never defend passively. Unless it's your last resort. You know, never defend passively. It's the last resort. This is typical passive move. Why? Why do we have to retreat our rook to a passive position? If anything, like, you could defend with an active move, you know, queen d6 or something. See, this is exactly what you don't really want to do. Have your rooks tied down to a pawn. At least they're active still from their position. But please tell me he didn't play rook b6. I'd rather lose a pawn than play rook b6. Is there a good way to lose a pawn, though? Because rook e6 is so crushing. Oh yeah, you have rook c3 now. He played it. I couldn't bear to see like rook b6. Imagine the rook on b6. It would have no moves. It would have absolutely no moves from there. So this was a good move by black. Staying in the game. Queen a2. Now you're threatening rook e6. Bob did a good job. Now the king is open. So we have weakness on e6, sensitive king, a little bit of a target on b7, and black has no threats. Now if you get lazy, you might get attacked at g2, or the 7th rank could easily be weak. Queen a4. There it is. That's danger. Black naturally tried for counterplay. I don't see anything. The engine says white's winning, but I didn't see anything. Oh, you're threatening the sneaky trap. Bob saw it too. I didn't see it. How long was that there? Oh, you were just setting it up. So this was just a cheapo, queen a4. We wondered what you were doing with queen a4. Yeah, there's no really good move. Probably move the king back to g8 or something. And then we're going to drop a second pawn. It's difficult. He blundered the queen. It's game over. Alright, guys. I think Bob can handle it from here on out, winning a rook. Queen for the rook. How's your queen versus rook endgame, Bob? Working on mine at the moment. Alright, so Saeed's in there. Rossador is a subscriber. Guys, we've got about 2 hours. No, we would have got an hour and a half. How much stream time do we have left? An hour and a half to do the rest of the games. Thanks. I wanted to say thanks to Mr. Sohan for the donation. If you guys like to gift a sub, please do so. I'd like to thank Mr. Sohan, Jim, Mr. Coffee. Who else? WJ Loof and Ashcoat for donating bits to the stream today. Let me get back here where we were. All right, game 3 for today. Subscriber stream with game analysis. Someone on sound is in the house. Where is someone on sound? Is there something simple I should remember on queen versus rook endgame? Don't get it against the computer. All right. Humans are no problem with queen versus rook, but computers, they find these like long distance rook moves that are probably almost impossible for a computer to see. Long distance rook moves that a human would be afraid to play. They can calculate, don't drop a rook. It's very important that you have to learn like extensive theory in that endgame. All right, so where are we? Someone on sound. Yeah, I'm a bad influence. Won't reveal. All right, his secret comments. Classical chess, someone on sound versus Tilchev. He's taking his beatings to grandmasters now. Mr. Slowhand just donated 5 gift subs. He's donated a total of 86 in the channel. Alex Lichess, Live for Chess, Perpetual Stalemate, who I recognize, Empty Wave Function, and Quantizator. Quantum Quantizator. Thank you guys for the gift. Thank you, Mr. Slowhand, for the gift subs. Awesome. So back to work here. I would say thank you, more thank yous, but I'm really drifting in terms of getting all these games done in time. So e4, c6, no. I'm just dissing for someone on sound, dissing his openings. Man, imagine with the openings that you play, how good you could be if you played real openings. But someone on sound gets a kick out of handicapping himself. You know, it's more challenging that way. Now, in seriousness, he has limited time to prepare, so he has like a gambit-based repertoire. It's not easy to play a gambit against the Caro-Kann, so this is the next best thing. We play coffee house chess, essentially. This guy Tilcheyev, he must have analyzed your games with me or something. Because he was playing Sicilian before, and now he's migrated to the Caro-Kann. Very strange. He's basically taking it from my playbook, where the best response to someone on sound is the Caro-Kann. So bishop c4, d5, bishop b3, and now d takes e4. Whoa, Mr. Slowhand just went crazy. I think I'm having like hallucinations. He gifted 5 more subs to the channel. Bastion Chess, 123, Noeli, Stinger 87, who we've actually seen before, T Dark, who knows us, and Casper VLD. So that is insane. 10 gift subs. But in principle, thank you, man. Mr. Slowhand, thank you so much for supporting the stream. I haven't had so many gift subs lately, and things are a little slow during the tough times here of the world lockdown. Man, very generous. Dude, thank you so much. Mr. Slow gifted 10 gift subs to the community. But seriously, this is like the best way to play against someone on sound. His least sound opening, the Grandmaster sniffs it out. He doesn't know about my secret novelty with A5. So clearly he hasn't done all of his homework. Don't tell anyone about that. That's the refutation of the... Basically the refutation of... The secret refutation of the hillbilly attack. WJ Loof. 200 bits, the least you can do. Thank you, sir. Very generous. I also played knight f6, but as we've seen in previous games, this isn't so clear. You know, like knight f6, e5, knight fd7. It's just like a really weird position. I think we saw knight e4 as well. That leads to weird positions, but probably like not unfavorable to white. Basically, it's either take or my novelty a5, and that's it. So take, queen h5. Now, I think I played e6 against someone on sound once, which isn't really bad. This is rarely played, Carlson Tomaszewski. But e6 is not so bad either. This is the main line, g6. So, you know, where most players here, of course, play knight f6, defending the pawn. Tilcheyev plays bishop g7. Strangely following Williams versus Gawain Jones. Now, these guys play very similar stuff, actually. So I would think it's funny that Jones and Williams probably know each other really well, with similar styles from the same country. Both, like, you know, you might say that Jones is stronger and a little more advanced theoretically, but basically they're both like kind of wild attacking players with similar repertoires. Funny that they played each other in the hillbilly attack. I think I saw this game a long time ago. Anyway, knight c3 and now a5. It's a little It's a little late. He played f5. Oh shit. Excuse my language. Maybe he doesn't know about the game that Alekhine like smashed Nimzovich. Do you guys know what I'm talking about in the French? There's this game, one of those French lines that Nefedov plays with like knight on g to e2 against the French, where Nimzovich like tried to defend the f5 pawn. I mean, he tried to defend the e4 pawn with f5 and got his face punched in by the young Alekhine. That's an extremely famous game. I mean, it's always awesome when you see, I think, players of different generations face off. You know, like Alekhine against Botvinnik, or, you know, Fischer against Reshevsky. I'd like to see that, like, the best players in the world facing from different generations. But anyways, this reminds me of that game. You know, f5. Think about like how dangerous now this Black Mardimer type of pawn sack is going to be. It's like there's no way I would play that. Opening up that diagonal. I mean, the least of his worries is like bishop takes g8. This is what like a beginner would play. Bishop takes g8. There's a famous game where Steinitz was, speaking of chess history, right? Famous game where Steinitz played e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, f5, and White played like bishop takes g8 or something. It's just too important to get that bishop up to win a pawn back with queen takes h7. We have to analyze it. I'm going to guess that somehow this is not that good. My instinct tells me that this is not that good. Still, it could be dangerous. I mean, after bishop f7, we have to calculate. Queen takes h7, attacking this, attacking this. At the end of the day, I guess the critical line would be something like king f7. Now, newsflash, black's trying to win a queen with rook h8. I mean, it's funny, even if we had knight h7, I mean knight h3, knight g5 check, black could probably play king f6, and it wouldn't be clear you could win by force. No, I don't believe in this. So it's obvious to me that it's f3, and now black has to be extremely careful. This was a stupid decision for black in a simul against you to play. If it was a one-on-one game in a tournament or something, I could see it. But he's gonna, I know from experience, he's gonna have very, very difficult time in a sharp position where his king isn't safe. He's gonna have to play extremely precisely here with black. Well, he's played you before already. Yeah, he doesn't know you that well, but he's already, you know, like not beaten you at least once or twice. So he knows you're a good player, and playing gambit type of stuff, I wouldn't play f5. So it's basically a good Black Mardimer. I mean, it's like playing f5 against the Black Mardimer. God, man. This isn't going to be pretty. It's the Mora on the other side of the board. Except it's like these files. It's a standard Black Mardimer, dude. It's just a good Black Mardimer for white. f5 is... There's no way to deal with this. You know, what are you going to do? Can you imagine if black has time here for h6? Maybe this is a good move, man, but I don't like it. I don't like it. There's got to be a better move than h6. Why doesn't he play e5 here? Am I missing something? It's like one of those... Oh man, this is ridiculous, dude. It's like Fischer against the Spanish or whatever. Queen c4. What is this? This is your line? But this isn't clear, is it? You have bishop f7 check. How bad is it? How bad is it? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. I don't mind this king here. You know, it might be an improvement on. It might actually be an improvement on over there, like on f8. I think it might actually survive. You know, I'm not sure how bad this is. You can obviously. You can't win by force. You know, now queen c4. The knight is defended. You're not threatening mate, but you are. What are you threatening here, by the way? I'm not really sure. Probably you have some strong move like d4. I imagine white is winning. Let's see what the engine says. Winning is a relative term. So on queen c4, it's plus 0.6. Look at the advantage. It's on queen c4 plus 3, and then it drops to 0.6. Nice engine. Okay, maybe bishop f7 is the wrong idea, dude. I found this without an engine. You know, I mean, I would definitely play it. You got to do it, e5. Yeah, man, he would have called the question with this. Show me the money. You want to play an endgame? Someone on sound? How do you like endgames? You like some endgame? I don't think so. You're not into this endgame. He doesn't do endgames. Yeah, this is really. I'm just not buying it. You know, it's just not clear what's happening here. Knight h6, knight e5 check. This is engine. Now I would have lost. I concretely would have lost it here. Obviously, king c7 leaves something to be desired. This is not safe. I have to admit that I would have lost confidence here and probably screwed up and lost right about now. This looks extremely dangerous. You have to do d3 and if bishop e5. Yeah, man, this is like threading a needle. The computer doesn't even know what to do. It's just freaking out. So I would have lost anyway, even if it is the best move. Maybe the Grandmaster is right. So you screwed up with queen c4. You were too obsessed with that. Once he plays h6, he's weakening his g6 pawn. So we have a whole new avenue over here on g3. We don't have to be attached to that queen c4 idea. But this is more fundamental. It's more fundamental. Yeah, but your queen is screwed up. I think that's the problem after queen c4, e6. That's why you're not really better. Your coordination gets kind of wacky with the queen on c4 and no d4. This was better. This was balanced. Yeah, e6, but now we have something like queen g3. You have massive. This is just awful for black. So you made a mistake there, I think. Playing queen c4. I agree. I mean, even rook e1 is a little bit weird. It feels more efficient to play d4. We have to argue your rook is semi-developed. These pieces are not developed on c1 and a1. My first priority would be to get the queen side in the game. Your rook might even play a role here, but first of all, get the queen side out. I'm sure this is not a bad move, but I'm concerned about the queen side. Again, I'm concerned about your development. Can't we develop? This seems kind of freaky. I realize that black has problems too. And you're back again to h4. Yeah, this was a weird game. Finally, d4. Still white has compensation. Neither side played perfectly, but the positional compensation is there. This pressure here down the file. The same way he'd have d4 in the Smith-Morra. Nice maneuver now. This might start to get problematic. I'm surprised by c4. I didn't think you'd let him swap pieces. I would definitely play knight g3. The first rule of Someone Unsound is don't tell anyone about Someone Unsound. The first rule of Someone Unsound is not to trade pieces, right? I can't believe you're letting him trade pieces now. He didn't do it. Thought he was going to take here. I would swap this. Try to swap my bishop off before that knight does some damage. Seems safer. He pulled his knight back. He's getting ambitious. So apparently it was good, though. The engine seems to like his position. This is just totally unexpected. That is a problem. That is a serious problem. You got to give the guy credit. Playing very creative chess here. Dropping d4 with check was not really what we wanted to do. Look at that bishop. If you can play c5, it's a different game. Will you play c5? Now he's starting to feel like, oh, I did something wrong. Man, he held it together for so long and eventually just lost all these squares. This is a vacuum. There's a total vacuum. What's a couple pawns? There comes the bishop. What happened here? In just a couple moves, he like totally disintegrated. I thought everything would be okay. It's like knight g4. What a concept. Just when you think black is like almost winning, it's no big deal. Absolutely no big deal. Have my d-pawn, no problem. Check here. Whatever. And then you just filter in. Anyway, you're only down one pawn. Man. I totally feel for him, you know? You totally feel for him. But at the same time, you know, he was playing like really aggressive. Obviously a position that demands accurate defense in a simul where it's difficult. You know, it's difficult to do that with limited time. All right, good game, Someone Unsound. I would handle you differently. He'll learn what to do. All right, guys, we are really lagging behind now. Asterbate is up, number 4. Number 4. What time is it? It's 8 o'clock. We started at 6:30. We have an hour left in the stream. These games have been interesting, though. I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. 10 minutes per game. The DK is for Donkey Kong. One of my favorite games is as a child. I had Donkey Kong on a home console. Great game. I was thinking about that a couple weeks ago. The old console gaming. Alright, Someone Unsound is done. Asterbate is up. Asterbate, where are you? Game study? No. Favorite game this week. Smothered Mate. Don't give it away. No spoilers. Thanks so much to Mr. Slow Hand Grind for 10 gift subs. And all you guys being very generous. Particularly Jim, Mr. Coffee, and Slow Hand Grind. WJ Loof, thank you guys so much for supporting the stream. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. 11 a.m. CET, Central European Summertime. So this is favorite game of the week, Astrobate with Black. Flip it Friday. It's inaccurate for white not to play d4, and you'll see why here. Now black has pressure on the e4 pawn. Better to play bishop d3 and queen e2, or play something like f3. Iamism. It's time to put the lad back in Sladgie. I thought you said laid back at first. We've got 6 games to do in 1 hour. The games have been too interesting, though. You know, that's my problem. Sometimes games are kind of boring. It's no problem. But we've had like 3 or 4 interesting games, and I get carried away. Bob just gifted tier 1 sub to John Spielman. Number 4! Congratulations. But don't forget, guys, because of coronavirus, don't lick your fingers. d4, bishop b4, bishop d2. I had a game the other day where I was playing on my phone, some random 3+2 game, and my opponent just played something like this. It's just not a very active square for the bishop, and additionally, it doesn't defend the pawn on e4. So it's not the piece that needs protecting, it's the pawn on e4. Iamism subscribed with Twitch Prime. It's like a delay there or something. I thought he was already subscribed. I think there's some sort of delay for the message coming from Twitch, because when I saw you were already subscribed, then the message came through. Subscribe for 2 months. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, clearly, like, the pin isn't the problem. The hanging pawn on e4 is the problem, so he just doesn't protect it. Astrobate sometimes blitzes his moves, so he forgets to pay attention. I'm surprised he didn't play knight f6 or something. Good job, though. Taking your time, not automatically, like, cranking out those first 10 moves. Good job. You used, like, 45 seconds for the first 8 moves. I mean, it's 5. It's good. I've been trying to teach him not to play too fast. You know, white has a tiny bit of compensation for this pawn. He's got most of his pieces developed, and you have only that queen bishop developed. So, it's not a no-brainer. I mean, a vicious attacking player could play something like knight g5 here. It's not like white doesn't have some sort of compensation. I don't know, this move hangs a piece. All right, other than that, it's good. He could play that, or he just lose a piece. I'm sorry, guys. It's like a ghost defender. It doesn't work. Anyway, well, at least it was a good idea. While it lasted, knight g5 was a good idea. I was gonna say that's a damn good initiative for white after knight g5, but it hangs a piece. Oh well, that doesn't quite work. And that's after just half a beer. Knight e5 though is a second best try. Let's give him credit. Second best try. Yep. I've seen similar pawn sacks in these type of positions. He could get some summon unsound, Deemer, Gambit style compensation. So Astrobate has to be very active here without going over the line. F3 blocks his queen. I'm not sure he had anything anyway there. Knight f6 was a good move, taking away those squares. If he gets the queen out to like g4, h5, you could be in trouble. Development is the main thing, but I think you could just kick him with d6 here. Good job, dude. The old Astrobate would have been paranoid of bishop e5 check, and he would have played a6, which is exorbitantly slow. So I think Astrobate, you're showing like clear signs of improvement, not making unnecessary prophylactic moves like a6. Clearly, if d6, bishop e5 check, you have c6 winning a piece. So in a time like this when you're taking a pawn, it's like a hit and run, consolidation, guerrilla warfare style of play. You don't want to make unnecessary weaknesses, and you need to play quickly. You need to get the knight off of e5 out of your territory. This is an extremely good move. He walked into it. I'm not surprised. You know, this is what people do when they're beginners. They leap before they look. The old Asterbate wouldn't have won the game like this because he would have played a6, preventing his opponent from making a mistake here. Grammarly. Exorbitantly slow. Now you learned a new word. And that's why Grammarly should be my sponsor. Drops a piece. And he, you know, this is even a good move. Bishop takes c6. It doesn't matter, though, which way. I don't think we're going to have to spend too much time here. Now we see, okay, he's up a clear piece for nothing. Now we want to see consolidation. Yummy pawn. I was really, really happy with this game until Asterbate took with the pawn on d5. Probably I shouldn't be too anally retentive when you're up a piece about pawn structure, but I just don't like this on principle, you know. There's absolutely no reason to ruin your pawn structure here. Either capture, bishop takes d5, or knight takes d5 is good. There's a diagonal, but I'm not too worried about it. I just don't see like the queen launching itself to g4. You're going to take his knight out. Your knight's going to take his bishop out, excuse me, with knight takes c3. He can't stay on the diagonal, even like e5. So, Asterbate, no reason to destroy your pawn structure. Okay, you're up a clear piece. I don't even want to comment on white's play. Like, you can't trade pieces when you're down a piece. Like, bishop takes f6. Forget about it. You cannot trade pieces when you're down a piece. It's hopeless. Hopeless. Next game. So, get in there, kill him, trade pieces, whatever necessary. This is the old Asterbate now. Trade down, grind him down. You're getting a little funky with your pieces. Rook on h4, unprotected. Knight on d5. There's back rank mate. I would just play like h6 and make sure I don't get back rank mated. You have two pieces in kind of dangerous positions. I notice your play looks a little overconfident now that you're up a piece. It's a good way to get in trouble. No, instead of that move, completing development with rook e8 would be better. I talked about passive moves. You know, don't make passive moves when you don't have to. I mean, this is clearly better. You're defending against rook f6. That rook needs to get into the game. It's a dual purpose move. Attack and defend. When you have a choice, you always want to try to find, you know, multi-purpose moves that attack and defend at the same time. What rating was Asterbate? Don't tease him about his rating. He dropped some points. The pawn was just getting in the way. This is actually setting him up, man. He's got knight e4 now. Oh, he played rook e4. I thought it would be knight e4. Even the dogs are barking with this pawn sack. What is rook e4 about? The technique here with the piece up was kind of sketchy, man. Now white walks into the smothered mate. Beautiful finish. Good job, but it looked a little shaky, the piece up. The stage from where you won the piece until you got the smothered mate was kind of shaky. The first thing you should do is make luft. Never get back rank mated. Alright, Asterbate, that was a quick one. Guys, thanks for joining me in my stream. But I've got, what, like 50 minutes? We've got 55 minutes left to go over 5 more games. Is it 6 more games? 5. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, 5. Do puzzles, Bob. Yeah, but like real puzzles, you know, like the lichess puzzles don't really, they're not really puzzly. Maybe the beginner ones are. But basic puzzles. Yeah, it'll take away from his trolling if he puts too much focus on chess. All right, enough of that though. Stefanos doesn't want to wear this. Here's a game where my opponent played brilliantly. 12 bishop d3. Wasn't able at the time to understand his huge initiative. It didn't occur to me that he can castle short and have tons of compensation. Alright, let's check it out. So you're black. Well, I mean, the lichess puzzles, a lot of them aren't puzzles, you know. I don't consider puzzles to be like just positions where we have to like guess what the computer played. You know what I mean? They need a lot of positions to fill it up, but most of them are just not real. They're not truly puzzles. They're just like random positions where you have to guess what the engine says is the best move. I don't think that's like true, you know, they're not truly chess puzzles in a sense. Doesn't mean they're not useful, but a lot of them are abstract moves that the computer wants you to play that there's no, you know, beauty in it or any kind of aesthetic side, you know. Where's Blobix? He's a he's a FIDE master of composition. Okay, so you're black here. We've got a Nimzo. I was thinking yesterday, why is it that nobody plays e3? What used to be the main variation of the Nimzo. I never ever see anyone play e3 anymore. a3, okay, the same-ish variation. It's not really that good for white. It's kind of a lazy man's move. But it forces the game into kind of a narrow channel, which might be good, at least for white to have relatively limited amount of positions they have to study. Alright, bishop takes c3, b takes c, castles, and now normally white would play, I guess, f3. e3 would transpose to a hybrid type of variation. But f3 is the main line. Now bishop g5, so first of all, let's go back a move before I go any further. Alright, here. There are two variations I would recommend. The first one is like the classic Nimzovician way of playing with c5. You're blockading the pawns. This is the way that Karpov played and the way that Grigorich recommended in his old Nimzovich or Nimzo Indian book. We're playing like classic blockade strategy against doubled pawns in a closed position. The second one, which is interesting, is b6, and I've seen some good players play this. Here we're playing without creating a lot of weaknesses, and we're going to try to attack that pawn on c4 by bringing the pieces out with like knight c6, bishop a6, knight a5. Maybe not commit ourselves about castling. This line is more risky for black. c5 is safer. Castles, I don't really know what the plan is with that, you know. I don't think this is as good. You're probably giving white a better game by playing castles. But I don't know about bishop g5. I think f3. Bishop g5 is overrated. Maybe this line with f3, knight e8. You see here, this is the #1 move. I've seen knight h5. I've seen knight e8. These are your best chances against f3. It's not that bad for black. I considered playing this. But I don't run into a3 very often. It's not really a big deal in the theory of the Nimzo. Yeah, but this is interesting. You know, c5 is better known. This move, okay. It's a little bit like Leningrad variation now. I mean, c5 now. I wonder about c5 now. The pin is kind of annoying. If you play really passively, I guess white can gain an advantage. With like d6, knight on bd7, I would be concerned. Maybe h6 isn't bad, but you have to be careful about making weakening moves. And I mean, this is... forget about it, you know. Bishop takes f6 is ridiculous. I mean, this is just not even chess. 98. 98, it's about playing f5. It may seem like very abstract and very hyper modern, but it's ultimately getting out of the way so the f pawn, and it turns into a Dutch. Essentially, is what you're doing. You know, so if you castle, white plays f3, black plays 98. We're gonna play f5, and we're gonna, I think maybe even like Reshevsky played this for black. We're just gonna turn the position into a Dutch with f5, controlling the e4 square. It's not a bad variation. To control e4, Bob. To play e4. Because we can't play e4. Basically because, Bob, this loses a pawn. So rather than losing a pawn, white wants to play f3 and not lose a pawn with e4. It's pretty advanced. Don't mean to be a dick. Alright, bishop g5, h6, but this is horrific. You know, Chismadea played this variation with white. I remember beating him in an f3 Nimzo, ironically. But you can't play bishop f6, man. Just giving up your bishop for nothing. Like, you have doubled pawns for nothing now. Alright, whatever. So black is completely equal. Probably better for white not to even play e4 now, because he has a lack of dark square control. I don't like queen g6. Too many moves with the same piece, and this is very early in the opening. I would consider even e5 here for you. I think you need to get a grip on the center. Get a grip, man. Get a grip on the center and focus on the dark squares. My first reaction is d6, followed by e5, but you could even play e5 right away. But this move looks fishy. It may be good, but, you know, it's not as easy to play. We don't have a fundamentally sound control of the center here. So we're kind of out on a limb. I mean, white also making a random move now. I suppose it's not that easy, though, for white to deal with it. Probably you should play like e5. I don't know. Maybe queen g6 isn't so bad. I'm not saying it's a bad move. I just don't think it's easy to play on principle. I like to be more systematic in what I'm doing. I don't want my pieces to end up on random squares. I want to put my pawns on dark squares in the center so that my bishop is good. Queen f3 might not be a bad move. Now e5 is basically forced. I think that e5. I don't like letting you open the f file. Now white's play is really adventurous, but probably not good. You could have played rook h5 there, but you're probably chasing his queen when you should just leave it. This is a good move. Also interesting is queen back to f6, but your rook would have less squares. This is calculation-based chess. Rook f2 trapped you. What are you going to do? You're going to play like rook b2, rook takes f2, knight f3, rook b2. Like, where is your rook going to go? Over there? Oh my god. But it's kind of what I said, you know. Unless you can play like a computer, you probably shouldn't be playing stuff like queen g6. All your pieces are home over here, and you're not fundamentally developing the pieces. And we're not computers. That's why I need to play like Botvinnik or something principled. The computer will tell you that black is okay here, but you have to play like a computer to get away with it. You know, I think that's too hard. I don't really like the position. You know, here it's just so much simpler if you don't do anything crazy. Just have a really sound game. And these are weaknesses. It's so easy to play for black. So you didn't see like the rook is, I guess, trappable. That's a nice tactic though. And it's not just about the rook trappable. I mean, it may not matter. You know, you're going to get impaled on the king side down the f file. I'm not surprised in the least. All the pieces are coordinated. White's development's done. You're not. You know, your pieces are at home over here. And it started with queen g6. And the engine may say, hey, queen g6 is a good move. But if you can't attach the whole game to something more systematic and connected, you know, or unless you're some sort of amazing tactical calculator, you have to adhere to principles. And I feel like, you know, you started down the path with queen g6. Perhaps the next move was the real mistake. I didn't think f5 was bad, to be honest. But let's see, like queen f3 was played. He's forced to make an artificial move. You know, your move was kind of slightly artificial. This is very artificial. But can you play something else? I know, like, the computer is looking at this. But I think that's what you have to know. Now his knight cannot go to f3. So we have this crazy looking move, e5, but it's backed up by knight c6. So we can adhere to the original strategy that I wanted to use, which is basically playing a dark square pawn chain with the knight, you know, and we forced him to play queen f3. But you have to know the general strategy. I guess f5 is a bad plan. Now here, honestly, I was thinking about rook h5. Why did he put his queen on h3 just to protect? Could he put his queen on, you know, e3? Would that be better? Was queen h3 even his best move here? It's the #1 move according to the engine, but queen e3 is also a move. But I think it's just hard to play, you know. Okay, that's instructive. That's instructive. And I'm not surprised by castling. You should have seen that coming. Totally. His pieces aren't coordinated. Of course, the first thing you look at is castling queenside. Does my rook get trapped? You know? But you've got to see the kind of, like, coordinated focus in this area. I don't need to see any more after this. You know? I already know what's going to happen. You're right about rook h5. It probably would be misplaced later. This was... Queen g6 ends up being a good move. But this was actually... Yeah, my first question is, what if White had played, by the way... I got to go on to the next game, but what would have happened if he had played e5, by the way? What's the evaluation here? Is e5 the best move? No. Something slower, like what he played. So against e5, against queen f3, f5, e5, you still have time to break his center with, like, d6. Even though it takes a little bit of time, his queen is blocking his knight, you know, from controlling the center. But look how your bishop is blocked by your pawns. Bishop on c8 blocked by b7, e6, f5. It's not ideal. This is a brilliant move, though, you know, e5. We can surround it like a Budapest gambit. He can't really, like, take and have a good game with the pawns. Someone on sound will teach you how to play the Budapest gambit. No, anyway, it was an interesting game, and I'm not surprised how you went wrong there. There might be some conspiracy theory that White was playing perfectly or something, but it looks like a human game. He just got kind of lucky, you know, that you walked into the perfect position with castles, and now your queen, the threats down the f file are really bad. Yeah, you got no development. Apparently he had even, like, bishop h7 check. There's nasty stuff here. Yeah, it's over. All right, I won't show more there. But Stefanos, at the beginning of the stream, I practiced my bishop and knight mate. So we're back. My chess dementia. My chess dementia is over. I successfully demonstrated bishop versus knight checkmate for the viewers at the beginning of the stream. So thanks for helping me be inspired to get up to date on my chess knowledge. I didn't think you could forget how to mate with bishop and knight versus king, but apparently It is possible during lockdown. All right, so chess dementia, be careful. Warnocki's up next. Where is that? Warnocki. Tomorrow, guys, don't forget. You have a nice fundamental advantage in that type of Nimzo, where he's trading his pieces down into a bad ending with double pawns. You should just play real simple Nimzovician strategy against a player like that. You have a total advantage based on pawn structure, and he no longer has the bishops to compensate. There's no need to play for attack. Just grind him down. All right, so here, Sia. It's Hungarian for hello. Got Hungarian and German. Submission today, how to blunder into mate in an exquisite miniature. It's very humble. Very, very humble to submit our losses. Appreciate it. A different perspective. Both Stefanos and Warnocki. All right. It's not a loss? Oh. Didn't you say you blundered into mate? Or was that your opponent blundered into mate? Anyway, Stefanos was humble at least. E4, knight c6, you played a good one of these against me a couple weeks ago in the simul. But now e6. So against me you played d6. Now you're playing e6. This is sort of dubious. As you guys know, on Wednesdays I host a stream where I'm playing like weird openings and stuff, and I think I was playing this for a little while. What's the variation I'm thinking of? I'm trying to think of some line that's really good for black here. Top of my head, I can't remember. Anyway, okay, so e6, knight f3. You're playing like Frank Ferenc. Not a sound opening player. This is part of his repertoire. FIDE master Frank Ferenc. He played some similar thing against me a couple years ago. Definitely not sound. At this point, you're on the edge of soundness, and the only way to play is basically d5. And this is really marginal. I mean, basically, you were doing better. I think you're doing better to play d6. You really should play d5, though. Like, this is the only good move. Really sound move. I'm sorry, e5. e5, of course, is also sound. So e5 or d5. This is risky because you get pushed back with d5, as I've played myself. But this is really risky. And after knight f3, you have to play d5. I think this is the only way to go at this point. If you really insist on... If you have to insist on being weird, I mean, maybe you could play like d6. That's another Frank Ferenc. Check it out. He's got 2 games there. He played it against Daniel Dverney in 2017. Just don't learn. This is not really good enough. The Frank Ferenc defense. Anyway, this is probably worse. e5. Knight d5. You know, now I don't know about c4. Even Balashov played it, but do we really want to trade pieces here? Because if c4, bishop e4 check, still it's very good for white. But I wonder if white should hold off on the c4. Just a moment. Then black will play d6, I guess. It's a good question, though. Because I thought here you ought to play bishop e4 check and just chop some pieces. I guess white can play knight d2, which is kind of embarrassing. I mean, clearly, like, bishop d2 is a good move, too, but at least we could, like, swap some pieces off after that. I thought there would be some hope for black. It's a bad position, though, all around. Even bishop e4 check, like knight bd2, frankly, looks really bad. This probably didn't help. we're just in a bad position here. You can't play this. This is just bad. I would win like 99 out of 100 games against Frank Ferencz in this position, even though he's 2,200. He's probably down to like 2,100 by now. Okay, so c4, knight b6, and it's a really, really ugly Aliakin defense. Maybe d5 just rolls you. Honestly, I mean, I don't understand why white can't play d5 here. I think I probably had a blitz game like this. Am I missing something? Because that looks like it just wins. Balashov didn't go for it. Apparently now this check is playable. I still like white. Extremely dubious opening. It's interesting though. Is knight c3 stronger than d5? Not necessarily. Anyway, I would go for d5. This is another approach. Is it bad that my ears prick up when I hear that? You've made that like a common saying here. Someone on sound. But yeah, c5 actually looks good. There's still hope we could undermine the center with b6 or d6 though. Yeah, you see here like the one game black was a pretty good player and he played b6. Really bizarre and awful position for black, but you got to try to act quickly to undermine the pawn on c5. The longer you wait, the worse this is going to get. Now, I could see some scenarios where you could trick white into getting a good game. Basically, if he gets greedy, like playing something like this, castles, and then grabs the pawn, d6. Now we're talking like you might have like really good compensation. If white loses really his concept of where he is and becomes materialistic, this could turn into a winning weapon for black. He's overextended. He's lost, time grabbing pawns and stuff. Nothing but trouble here, Bob. Just didn't get it off the ground today, did you? No opportunities, really. So bishop c4, better than queen b3. I mean, I'd rather win the pawn with the bishop better than the queen. We don't want our queen hanging out there. But okay, not knight b4, but d6. And now you did the best you could, and credit for that. You don't have enough compensation for the pawn, but you have something, which is better than nothing. This looks out of control. I feel like it's a little bit spiraling out of control. Knight b4 wasn't necessary. And c6 is not good. I almost thought we had time to get in b6, bishop a6, but it doesn't look like there's going to be time. Yeah, knight b4 looks like a mistake, my friend. But d6, everything's compact. It's probably take, castle, and you're down a pawn. Holy shit. This actually transposed to a real game from 2008. That's insane. It's not even a real opening. How did this position even happen? How could this position even happen in a Poland, a real game, a live game over the board from Poland in 2008? This actual position occurred from some totally different order of moves and a totally different opening. That's insane. Amazing that you transpose to a real game. Knight b4 is bad. And this is bad. Now you're really done. You're totally done. Those pawns are going to kill you. You have to act fast, undermining the center in Aliakin defense. You did undermine the center, and now you can't. undermine the center with d6. So you're lost now. Totally lost strategically. b6 is the best try, but it's too late. Yeah, I would just take here on b6. I wouldn't sacrifice a pawn back. I feel like it was a little bit flashy and unnecessary. Fancy chess. A lot of that going around. I'm no believer in fancy chess. Just the real deal. Think a lot. Think about all you got. But this was an unnecessary return sacrifice. Now you got the Greek gift, though. Is bishop h7 lights out? You should maybe refrain from taking the pawn, but it's so sad. Like, you're stuck between the proverbial rock and a hard place. If you take the pawn, you allow the Greek gift sacrifice. If you don't take the pawn, you're positionally dead. You can die one way or die the other way. It's up to you. You prefer dying with going down in flames rather than slowly being suffocated. Bishop h7, king h8, question mark. Well, again, you know, it looks like you're going to have to take a walk. But I mean, there's potential here for this to go wrong. I mean, clearly, like, here is an easy trap to fall into. So, if you accept the sacrifice, king g8, what is that exactly? How exactly does it work? Oh, he's just picking up your bishop. Yeah. My bad. So it's not about a mate. Well, you've got that too. You can just play, okay, check here, queen c2. You pick up the bishop on c5. Clear advantage. Nothing mate though. So this was a big mistake. You thought you were getting mated and you're not. And so you play king h8, which actually made things worse. It's happened to all of us. Now f6, but I mean, it looks like king g7 with the one last hope of rook h8. Probably f6 is also a try. So apparently white is still winning if he sees queen h3 based ideas, I guess. Bishop g6. It's not that simple. How many winning moves does white have here? Maybe 2 or 3. Let's just allow black counterplay down the f-file. You gotta give black credit for finding queen takes f6. I mean, really? It's extremely tempting to take with a rook, but then there's like knight f7 check, or also queen h3, bishop f2 check, king h1. This is a super important move for black to find, because now this is a deadly threat on f2. Amazing turnaround. So he has to trade queens, and the pieces are now very awkward. I mean, I wouldn't really at first glance know what's happening here. The computer says that black is winning. Black has an initiative at the moment, but he's down a pawn. I mean, it's difficult to say if that's enough for black to be winning. It is kind of hard to protect f2, though. And since it's hard to protect f2, knight e4 becomes one of the only moves, and then the h7 bishop's dropping. So, I mean, you could get something like this, where black is 2 pieces for a rook and is probably better, for example. But anyway, he just blundered mate, queen h3, queen f2 check. And that's why you took with the queen on f6. Yeah, no, it was a good save. It's funny, though, that king h8 was actually like a really bad move. So what about the best move for white now? Did he have queen g4 instead of queen f3? Does it even matter? Doesn't matter, right? He wanted to keep f2 protected with the queen. White is winning. It's not that simple, though. Eventually, there'll be a mate. Sooner or later. Something like this. All right, Warnaki. Don't make that kind of experiments. You're going over the edge in the opening of reality with FIDE Master Frank Ferencz. Some point we get obsessed with things a little too much. Your opening is just it's just over on the other side of reality, just a little too far. Just move it a little bit back into this side of reality. And it's all good and fun for Blitz online, but you probably need to tone it down just a tiny bit. Okay, WJ Loof, Saeed, and Rossador are left to analyze today. WJ Loof. Good afternoon, Ponda Master. I hope that you will be in class. Oh, I hope to be in class. Like real class? Or this class? This is one of my 2 games I played in the 7 weeks since this all started. My favorite opening, but my skills have gotten so rusty that I don't trust my analysis. I don't want to blindly rely on the computer. Good idea. Don't blindly rely on the computer ever. And sometimes I start to do that. You know, I try to catch myself. What we want to do is like a hybrid. You know, use the computer, use the engine, but not relying on it too much. Like a synthesis of human and computer brains, and optimally trying to use those to learn is what I'm saying. It's best to use the engine during the games. I knew that was gonna a synthesis. I knew that was gonna happen. You know, somebody would make a wisecrack. We always can't have a stream without the topic of computer cheating rearing its ugly head here. But you know, all seriousness, I don't like to overly use the engine during analysis, but I like to learn from it. You know, there's a lot that can be learned from it, and we have to try to somehow do both, relying on our own skills, building our own skills, but using the computer to help to teach us as best we can. Bob's making his list and checking it twice. He's got to find out who's naughty and nice. Let us know later, Bob. Maybe for Christmas. We'll put coal in their stockings. Anyway, here's the game with WJ Lou. Thanks, guys. We'll be back. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, I've got my Blitz game. Got my Bishop and Knight. Endings are mapped out now, so don't even try to take me on versus King versus Bishop and Knight and King. Tomorrow's stream, don't forget, we're going to be shutting it down in about 20 minutes, but don't forget tomorrow's Blitz stream. Friday at 11 CEST. I'm playing 5+3. Guys, also check out Tranquilizer on lichess, not on lichess, but on Twitch. He's a streamer who's a friend of mine, Grandmaster Vita Levente. Very, very good player. And he's streaming on Twitch as well, so you can check him out. I'll probably do a raid of his stream when he's on one of these days. Okay, so WJ Loof, this is you. You're playing, what did you say? White pieces. The white bets, e4, e5, knight f3. Bishop c4 is seeing an uptick in the last couple of years for good reason. Don't even start, Bob. Don't listen to Bob. But Bishop c4, Bishop c5. This is cool though. WJ Liv plays the Evans, and I was like working with a student recently about your level, who's playing the black side of e4, e5. And the funny thing is that very, 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 very few people play the Evans Gambit, and I don't really know why that is. Like if you go, for example, and play knight f6, everybody and their brother like plays knight to g5, which is like the sharpest continuation. But the funny part is, with bishop c4, bishop c5, I feel like, almost nobody plays the Evans Gambit, and I don't know why. I mean, this is clearly the most fun and dynamic way to play with white. That's what Astrobate should probably learn to play. All right, the Evans is cool. And, like the Smith-Morra, it's not sound. You probably shouldn't continue to play it, beyond maybe like the 2000 level. But it teaches us how to play dynamically. I mean, it's very effective up to a certain point. I wouldn't play it at the master level, maybe. Even Kasparov did, though, but that was a different era where, nobody expected Kasparov to play the Evans Gambit. I don't think that Kasparov would do that today. It's a different era now. But at that time, it was a brilliant gambit, literally. Okay, so you're facing Jeroen Piquet here. Kasparov versus Jeroen Piquet. I remember when Piquet played that, and everyone was shocked, like he was afraid to take on the... But, I mean, who can blame him, Kasparov had all this analysis that was, like, secretly prepared. And no one has played the Evans in, like, 100 years. So, even a top grandmaster was afraid to take... But this is really not as good. The best is taking the pawn, c3, and then... I don't know. I kind of like bishop a5. Probably the best. Practical defense. d4, d6, queen b3, queen d7. This would definitely be the line that I would choose to recommend for people with the black pieces. But I'm not sure queen b3 is the best. If you look here, maybe Castles deserves... maybe Castles deserves to be analyzed. Not to go into the forcing nature of queen b3 so much. Someone has said, why didn't you play the Evans? Too well known. Well, the difference between the Evans and the fried liver, though, is really funny because they're actually quite different. In reality, like the fried liver, white wins a pawn and loses the initiative, and black gets the initiative. It's like in the Evans, you're sacrificing pawn for the initiative, and you have the initiative. When you play the fried liver, you're giving black the initiative, unless he plays the Traxler, which is really hard to play and basically completely unsound, which is some of that sound's next account. All right. But anyway, on to WJ Loose Games. So the declined Evans Gambit, a4, a6, a5. I don't know the theory here. I don't know anything. I think a5 is kind of unusual. The pawns are sort of flexible in their placement there. So you've got b5 ideas in some positions. I just am not well versed in this. I don't think I've ever... Piquet played a5, right? Yeah. You lost me with a6, but apparently it's a move. I don't know. This seems inflexible, that's all I would say. It's probably not that bad. But basically, you played a gambit, and they didn't take it, which is good. Now you can play another gambit, or something like that. You're not down a pawn, so you have a lot of flexibility. You could just transpose to like a sort of gioco piano, by the way. It's possible that we could transpose to a gioco piano type position after c3. Another thing is, just because you sack the pawn doesn't mean you have to constantly keep offering it forever. Black's made a concession here. Alright, anyways, so bishop a7 and now c3. You're not defending your e4 pawn. This has to be justified tactically. The normal move is d3. And again, we're very close to transposing to one of Astrobate's favorite variations of the gioco piano. Gioco pianissimo. As I've said many times, if black gets in d5, we're going to have to be careful. I would think like h6. Transposing to Kosin-Seba versus Kosin-Seba. You would think it would be a draw, but apparently you can beat yourself. No, I realize that they're not the same person. I'm just kidding. It was just a joke. Knight f6, castles, knight takes e4. Didn't work. We tried to bluff him, but it didn't work. But I wouldn't be surprised if you have compensation here. I would look at d4, bishop d5, knight takes e5, queen e2, rook e1. Rook e1 doesn't work. We can eliminate rook e1 really quickly. Queen e2 looks like a problem because of d5. This walks into, it's like walking into a brick wall. Be very, very careful about that. You walked into worse than a brick wall. So you got to find a subtle move now. I was looking at knight e5, but that doesn't work. You can't sacrifice two pieces and win one back. So basically your only move is bishop d5. This is a concession. Now knight f6, you have to take, and this doesn't look good. Black's bishops are extremely strong in the resulting position. He might even take with the b pawn on c6. I'm not really sure. Is that an interesting idea? Riskier. But you just blundered. Black missed, bishop takes f2. And apparently knight f2. Yeah, so this was played too quickly. I mean, I would just play d3 instead of castles. There's a nice move here, like knight g4 and the acerbate maneuver. You can just protect with rook a2. It's a beautiful thing. To make that kind of connection from a2 to protect your f2 pawn. I mean, you can obviously castle, but I'm just saying it's kind of a nice idea to be aware of, the clearance that you have because of the space advantage and all the pawns being pushed up. But this was a really, really bad blunder. You know, you're just rusty and haven't played, clearly. It's easy to forget that bishop is tucked away on a7, though, for beginner players. He totally either missed it or voluntarily delayed playing bishop takes f2 check. So both sides playing too fast. I mean, look at Black's time. 4:52. He's just blitzing off instantaneous moves. Just not even thinking about this crushing move here. Multiple crushing moves. Very disappointing. Can White crawl back into the game? You haven't been watching the stream. This was a good move. He's paying attention to what's happening now. He's making the fight over e5. You have to take that. Yeah. You're incredibly, like, it's ridiculous. You should have lost like 3 different ways. You're incredibly lucky not to be lost now. Still, I have a little bit concerns that Black is better developed and he's going to outstrip you on the e-file before you get your pieces out of the gate, basically. This is a good move. No, he's walking the bishop f4, maybe not. What happens on bishop f4, knight h5? What is that? There. Wait. We have to. Yeah. This doesn't look too pleasant. I think Morphe's gonna win. No. That doesn't look good. Knight h5 is actually really strong for him. Alright, so very good. This was a well-planned idea. Defends f2, gets out of the pin. I think you're probably still lost. If he smashes your structure, though, you can always play d4, f4. Should Black play rook e8 right away? I wonder if he should play rook e8 right away. Can we look at this for 1 second? We've got 10 minutes left in the stream. But seriously, is it the best move? Can he play rook e8? Now you have time for knight d2. Okay, so that's important. So take. I thought maybe you can hold on here. Obviously, this is logical. What about f4? It's just too much. I mean, this is even not possible because of rook e8, but this move, he has to find some good move. Queen d7. And then black is winning. Not everyone would have found that, though. Well, ultimately, what choice do we have now? We took the pawn. He played queen d6. Maybe we have another move here. Let's just play d4. I think we just have to screw it and play d4 and shut down his bishop. Doesn't that make sense? Think about it, you know? It's not that bad. You've got control of e5. You kill his bishop on a7. Yeah, Bob's right. For once, Bob's right. d4 looks great. I don't know about great, but it is pretty bad, that bishop on a7. What's he going to do about the bishop on a7? It may never get back in the game. That is actually a very serious problem. I'm just kidding, Bob. d4 looks like a good move. It's not too late to play d4 now. Importantly. White's still okay. This move was a little precarious. Black has knight h5. No. Queen e7. Squeeze me? I don't understand. So black now is 4 minutes 29 seconds. So queen d7, what's happening? Engine, tell me. Black's slightly better. Clearly better. Time management. The Egyptian school of time management and funerals. He's going to the grave with 419. But he'll have more time than you. You can't take it with you. That's the problem. I mean, he's ridiculously not thinking. What does it say on my stream? Think a lot. It's very deep. Grandmaster John Fedorovich told me this. This isn't just something I made up. Think a lot. Think about all you got. It's exceedingly deep. And most people are just incapable of doing that, you know? Thinking about all they got is just too difficult a task. You've got 4 minutes and 19 seconds, and he's not even thinking at all. He's just like playing rook takes e5. This helps you. And now bishop takes f2 check, which, you know, that would be an interesting move if you didn't have a pawn on f3. That would be pretty cool. But since the pawn on f3 protects the g4 square, there is no magic knight fork here. Looks like he's clearly worse at best. I was starting to wonder if he's going to play like knight e4 check or something. I'm very strongly tempted here to trade for the knight on f6. But I guess you're right. Like, this bishop's going to be a good defender. We don't really want to get pinned, though. It is a bit awkward. Wait, can't you just play, like, maybe bishop g3, I guess, queen f5? Yeah, he's going to have some tricks here. This is still a dangerous situation with your pieces not developed. I mean, you know, if you get materialistic with something like bishop takes c7, queen f5, you have no pieces developed on the queen side, so danger is lurking for sure. I think this is an interesting position. Knight d2 develops a piece, but now there's the file. We've got to be seriously worried now. It looks like we can probably defend. Now bishop f6, of course. So rook e8 might even be a mistake. His only chance, I guess, is to avoid bishop takes f6 and keep the pieces on the board with knight h5, objectively. The only practical way to play this is to keep pieces on the board. Rook e8 looks like a good move, but you could have played bishop f6. It's just over after that. You have to have the technique to win a piece up endgame, but that would be the easiest. Instead, you play d4. You're giving him another chance to keep pieces on the board with something like knight h5. This as well, like anything. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to give him a chance to stay alive here, and you can make a mistake. Now here's a very strong move, queen g4. That ends the game immediately. Trade the queens and you're winning. So this is not nearly as good. The queen is the magic piece. You got to get it off the board. You're winning, but the queens are on the board. There's always a chance of an accident like that. All right, guys. Anyway, WJ Luke, thanks for submitting the game. Hopefully you get to play some more. No more silly mistakes like dropping f2. We got Saeed and El Rosador. Quickly. So Rosador, first I'm doing a Saeed game. The above is the link to a classical game of me. I would really appreciate it if you could analyze today's stream. All right, the above link. I hope that was it. Okay, so you're black. Sicilian with f4. d5 is the best move. You don't think you can take much more. Have a beer. Have two. Do you drink beer, Bob? I can't take much more Sladgie either. I've got to get out of here. It's too serious for your chess mind. You got to have some trolling or something. All right, so e5, and as I mentioned before, knight c3, the toilet variation, probably best. You can also take the pawn with white. But most people do what he did. I don't really like it for white, but it's playable. We had a game the other day, very similar position with bishop f5. Oh, that's what you played. You know, that's very funny because some player, I think it was Mr. Slowhand. No, it was a 1300. Sorry, Mr. Slow. The 1300, that weird 1300 player who's not a subscriber, almost identical position against me, played like knight f3, h5. We had this game. And I played g3 and he played h4, sacking the exchange. Extremely dangerous idea. Bishop f5 is good. I personally prefer to just leave my bishop on c8. But it's up to you. Like knight h6 is interesting. There are different ways to play. Just knight c6. You could play g6 if you want to. There are many interpretations. So bishop f5 is one way to play. Knight f3. Yeah, so the guy who played h5, this was surprising, but kind of an interesting move for me. e6 is more normal. This is more correct. And now c3, and you played h5 here. h5, I think, is really appropriate in the position where the guy played it against me when I had played g3. Because the idea of playing h5, h4 is extremely dangerous. h5 here, I don't think it's really necessary. I don't think it's a mistake. But it's not the most flexible move. It will reduce your options a little bit. I think if I were black, I would play a more standard move, you know, like knight c6 or something. We'll wait and see what happens. h5 is certainly not bad. You said hurrying to dominate the a7 g1 diagonal. Yeah, I like knight c6 better. I prefer more fundamental development here. There's no threat of g4, you know, so I don't think we have to worry. I feel like knight c6 is more natural than h5. Take care, WJ Loof. And ironically, your opponent played g3. And now we're almost directly transposing to that game I had, where you can just play h4 now. What do I think of this move? Well, apparently that guy claims he's 1300 or whatever, or he's 1300. He plays suspiciously well in the opening. Made a reference to Simon Williams. Yeah, I mean, h4. I have 1300s making this move against me. This is totally a no-brainer. And now it's maybe too dangerous to take. Like, obviously, take. Well, it's over. So, white has to play rook g1. I'm pretty sure. White has to play rook g1. And black is just better. Now you have the h-file in addition to white having a lot of weaknesses. Yeah, this game's even better. You have to play rook g1, I'm pretty sure, here. Anything else, like, loses for white. I guess you could play bishop g2, but I don't know about that. I mean, even just h3 is kind of scary. Okay, white can play bishop g2, but it's a weird move. Better to just play rook g1 at this stage, I would say. So h4 is strong, yeah. Anyway, I gotta go pretty soon, guys, so I'm gonna finish up these last two games. But white went too far with d4. I mean, it looks like a lot of weaknesses. I don't really like c3, to be frank. Probably he should play like I did, you know, with something like g3 immediately and set up some sort of Leningrad Dutch type position. The other way to play is like d3. You could do a big clamp, c3, knight a3, knight c2. It's a rather standard setup, Nigel Pova will tell you. Nigel Pova, one of my first chess books ever. He wrote a book on the English that I got in like 1986. Still around, maybe. Shout out to Nigel and his book on the English from the 80s. But anyway, so this looks like white's asking for a lot. Queen a5 is always bad. We know that. e4, c5, f4, e6. Yes, similar ideas, Rossador. h5 is used there in those type of positions in the closed Sicilian. Yeah, queen a5 is an interesting move to try to like keep the tension here, but I'm sure black has other strong moves. Queen b6 looks good and a little more natural than queen a5, and something like rook c8. The other thing you got to consider is how this is going to get in the game. I'm probably just playing knight h6 at some point, but that would take away the ability to play h4. Probably you should still play h4 while you can, you know. Queen a5 is kind of weird. It's not a bad move. This is obviously an idea. Now he's surrendering the center. The problem for black is that you can't capture in a natural way with bishop takes c5 because of b4. So that's why queen a5 is always bad. We don't really want our queen to get drawn to some weird square, some tactic to take advantage of the queen. This Bronstein-like move. Still black is better. But you're going to have to do something decisive. Maybe d4, then a5 or b5. I wonder about d4. It doesn't feel very developmental for black. Oh, ultimately, black's king is still in the center, you know, and a bishop could land on b5, and I'm playing d4. Apparently, d4 is not as good. I'm not surprised. So a5, stopping a5. b5, now our knight gets kicked away. Good positional game by black. This is pretty cool. Now it's like overwhelming weaknesses in the white position. It's totally over. The c-file. He never got any threats against your king. So very well played positionally. It's just too difficult for white. This is a nice last trick though. This check here. You could have played rook takes a4. This looks good enough. Very strong. And now knight c2 check doesn't work. You have like knight takes g2 check followed by queen takes d4. So he didn't take it. Last try. Nice tactics by your brother. He's clearly strong tactically. There were positional mistakes. Wow. Now you've got like d4 and queen d5 coming. And he dropped a piece. But he's got bishop b6. Wow. So that's funny. If bishop takes f3, bishop b6. And maybe white's still okay. Last trap. But knight d4, ironically, wins material. And you're up a piece. Castle. That's funny. Move 25, castle. You dropped a piece now with a blunder. Oh my god. Just when you were winning, you dropped a piece. Now the white king is still unsafe, so black's still good practical chances of winning. I don't think I trade rooks here. You don't trade rooks with the white king like that. This is a very important mistake. When the opponent's king is unsafe, you play for attack against the king. You got to realize what your advantage lies. This pawn is actually not a big deal. But his one disadvantage that you can exploit here is his king's safety. So you have to keep pieces on the board. This is a blunder. Good defense by white. He really should trade rooks if he can. Now it's over. He didn't manage to trade rooks, and now his king is just exposed. I mean, this is a little bit like Fallujah against Ding Liren. Really good game, guys, if you want to check it out from the Magnus Carlsen Festival. There was a match between Fallujah and Ding Liren, and Fallujah won the other day. Really, I mean, Fallujah lost. It was 3 draws and a win for Ding Liren. But the game where Fallujah lost was an awesome game in a Najdorf, where eventually something like this happened to Fallujah's king. Alright guys, last game with El Rosador. I had extensive messaging from El Rosador. Getting a little tired. Last game, guys. 5 minutes. I gotta go. I want to know why attacking on the queen side is so important in general for white in the King's Indian. I ended up getting crushed here due to playing f4, which I don't understand. Why focusing on the other side of the board is the way to go. So I don't really care what happens after f4 because it's just bad. If I play for b4, how would I continue the game? Okay, so this is important stuff. Rosador. King's Indian with a read and play method. That was an old book. The basic idea we'll talk about, which is very fundamental in the classical King's Indian of any kind. This is where your space advantage lies. Your pawn, your most advanced pawn at d5. That's where your space advantage lies. Some people say like the pawn structure is like pointing at d5. But the lever, your break is the c4, c5 break. So everything's got to kind of aim like this flying buttress here. With b4, c5, you're basically playing according to the pawn structure. Theoretically. That's how it's supposed to work. And the idea is that you break through in the classical King's Indian, behind that c5 break, you're attacking. This is going back to Nimzovich, okay? It's like very fundamental. You basically want to be attacking the base of the pawn chain. If you're going to be successful, it's better to attack the base of the pawn chain where the opponent is weaker. If you're attacking the head of the pawn chain, dude, this is like his strongest point. You're playing f4. You're attacking the head of his pawn chain. You're attacking the strongest point in his position. When you attack e5, he's got the knight, he's got a pawn on d6, he's got a bishop on g7, he has pieces in the vicinity that can come over here and filter through e5. You don't try to take on the opponent at the strong point in their position. If you're attacking over here with like b4, c4, c5, and ultimately trying to break through here at the base with knight b5, attacking c7, something like bishop d2, rook c1, filtering down to c7, maybe b4, trying to attack through d6, maybe this knight on f3, knight d2, knight c4, attacking d6, you're going to attack him where he's weaker. What you're doing essentially is, by playing f4 in a King's Indian or Czech Benoni or any kind of closed game like this, you're attacking him where he's strong, and that's fundamentally wrong. There are exceptions where there's no other choice. Maybe your only break is to attack the strong point in their position. But if you have a choice, you should be attacking at the base where he's weaker. So that's why you have more space on the queen side. You played d4, d5. Your side is the queen side. He played e5, and his side is the king side. That's the way it works in closed positions. Okay, so now we have knight c5, queen c2, a5, standard line. I've played many times, more with black. And now I know this position, it's been the difficult one for me. I never really had that much success. I think the last time I faced this, I might have played b6 here, but I've never been really thrilled with black's position. It looks like knight g4, bishop c5, dc5, and you force white to give up that dark squared bishop. If h3, where do we put the knight? This is an interesting question. Misplace it on h6 in order to keep e5 protected? Or can we try a trick like knight f6? Is this pawn indirectly defended with some sort of tactic like knight takes d5? It looks like it, right? No games with this. It's funny. It's interesting here that the engine thinks that white is clearly better. But I think that computers misunderstand closed positions. But apparently white is just better after h3. So I don't really know. Look at the score. Partly like the engine doesn't understand closed positions. I'm not sure though, what black's best move is here. Don't ask me. I'm still not sure. But bishop g4 isn't it. This piece is our good bishop. We never want to trade it in this type of position. That's the bishop we sacrifice on h3. This is a mistake. You don't want to trade your white square bishop unless you have to. You're trading your white square bishop now. Not ideal. Now we're slightly worse, and we don't have a white square bishop to sacrifice on h3. We need the white square bishop to attack the white king side later on. So we don't want to do bishop g4 generally. The other problem is our knight on c5 is going to get kicked out with b4 later on. All right, so you're white. I understand. I've been talking from black's perspective. Let's flip the board. So here we're white. A3 is a good move. We're playing on the queen side. See the c4, c5 break. You've played well. Basically. It's hard to break through. Okay, bishop g4. It's a good move according to the engine. Let's turn it off. This is obviously a weird move to play rook e8. I would probably play h5 if I can't play f5. And try to trade off your dark squared bishop with something like king h7, bishop h6. Strange move. Yeah, this is just totally wrong. Totally wrong. I mean, you're doing great. You got him contained. He can't play f5. He has no way to attack you on the king side. As I said, his best plan is something like h5, king h7, and bishop h6. Something along those lines. I didn't like rook e8. Yeah, you're absolutely doing the wrong thing here. What you need to do is play rook b1 and b4. The knight is, this is game over. Like the knight on a6. I didn't like his move, knight a6, by the way. But ultimately, it can happen. I've had knights get rejected from c5 back to b7, and it never gets back in the game. If you're able to play b4, black's in a very bad way. So f4 is a very bad positional mistake. Rook b1, followed by b4, white has clear advantage. f4, think about what you're doing. You're opening up his bad bishop on the long diagonal. But it's worse than that. Because after f4, when he takes, you have limited attacking chances along the f-file, maybe, but you're giving him this monster square for his pieces on e5. At the minimum, the absolute minimum, after bishop f4, knight e5, he's basically got an impregnable fortress. You have no break, you can really execute now. I mean, I suppose, after bishop e2, if he sits there and lets you play like rook b1, b4, c5, I guess you still might have an advantage. You can still revert to the queenside plan of b4, c5. But now he suddenly has all sorts of counterplay on the dark squares. f4 is a really important fundamental mistake, and this basically makes it worse. You gave up your good bishop. Now black has initiative on the dark squares, and it's clearly better. There are weaknesses cutting through your position all over on the dark squares. So black has a huge advantage now, and it's hard for white to organize really any threats. Anyway, all right, guys, I got to go. It was a good stream. Lots of interesting games. This was Rossador. But the important part was that we talk about the strategic concept here. And I got to go, running a little bit late. So thanks, everybody, for joining me. We've got to go, HTFP. Sorry, buddy. We're 15 minutes late. Anyway, I'm exhausted. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. CEST with Fast Friday. Gonna collapse soon. Anyway, it's been a long day. Managed to keep Bob's trolling under control, Panda. Good job. Mr. Coffee, thank you for your help. Anyway, guys, don't forget, think a lot. Think about all you got. I'm the Panda, and I said so. Don't forget, we're champions of our street. Anyway, stay safe, everyone. We'll see you later. Friday, 11 a.m. CEST. Bye-bye.